In this tutorial, you're gonna learn about loops. So loops are crucial in programming as they allow you to run code multiple times. In Go, you can write loops in different ways, but they all use the for keyword. Let's start with the first type of loop, the three component loop, and we write it like this. So for, and then we declare a variable, for example, I. And then we add a condition for when the loops is going to run. So the loop will run while I is less than 10. And then we add a incrementer so that I will get incremented after each run. I plus plus. And in the loop we can print out I. So fmt print line I. And then we can run this and see what we get. Go run main.go. And we get 0 to 9. And the reason for this is because the condition here is the loop should run while I is less than 10. If you used loops in other languages, like maybe C or JavaScript, then it should look very similar to those. Sometimes maybe you don't need all of the three parts in the loop. We can then remove some parts of it and make different loop patterns. For instance, you might skip the initialization of the increment step. Let's see how that would look like. So we can create a variable here and call it I. And we set that to be 0. And then we can write for. And here we skip to declare the variable as we did before. So we write semicolon. And then I is less than 10. I plus plus. Should be a semicolon here. And then we can print out I. And we run it. As you can see, it works the same as before, but the difference is we set the variable outside the loop and not here. And we can also skip the increment step. For example, maybe you have increment rules that are more complex. You might want to leave out the increment step in the loop header, and it will look something like this. And write for I, and we set that to 0. I is less than 10, and then we can print I here. And here we could do like a check. Let's say if I is less than 5, then we want I to be incremented with 2. Else, let's increment it with 3. And if we run this, we will get 0, 2, 4, 6. And at 6, because then I is no longer less than 5, so it will increment by 3. From 6 to 9. And in Go you can also create a while loop using the for keyword. To do that you will skip the initialization and the increment step. It will look like this. Number, we set that to 1, and then we use the for loop. For number is less or equal to 10, and then we can print out number. And after that we can increment the number. So let's say number plus plus. Now if we run this, we get 1 to 10. You can also create an infinite loop, and to do that you just leave out all the three parts in the header. For, and then we write, for example, fmt print line, this loop will run forever. And if I now run this, you see in the terminal it will keep printing this forever. So to stop it, you just press Ctrl C. In Go you also have break and continue statements. So the break statement will stop the loop immediately, and this is how it works. Let's create a new loop. So for I, we can set that to 1. I is less than or equal to 10, and then I plus plus. And here we can write if I equal 5, then break out of the loop. Under here we can just print out I. So let's see what we get in the terminal. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and when I is 5, the loop will break and it will no longer run. And we also have something called continue. If we write, say, continue here, and then we can change the condition to maybe I, and we use the modulus operator, and then write 2 equal 0. So basically if it's an even number, it will not execute this part of the loop. It will just continue to the next iteration. So you can see here, if we run it, we get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. No even numbers are printed to the console. Using break and continue allows you to fine-tune how loops operate, either by ending them early or by skipping part of the execution. Let's see how we can iterate over data structures like slices. So let's create a variable with a slice. So we can call it languages, and we set that to be a string slice. Go, Java, C, Python, Ruby. Then we can write for I, and then we can write comma lang, and we set that to be equal to, here we will use the range keyword. And what it does is it helps you to iterate over, for example, slices, arrays, map, or strings, and so on. And then we can write range languages. Inside the loop, we can print I, and we can print lang. I will be the index, and lang will be the value. So we get 0, so it's Go, 1 is Java, 2 is C, and so on. And if you don't need the index, you can just skip it by using underscore. And then this one you can just remove. So then it will look like this. Go, Java, C, Python, Ruby. In this tutorial, we cover different types of loops in Go. These loops help you handle repeated tasks easily in your Go program. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you in the next one.